If you've been out buying fragrances and building your collection and are not getting the results that you want, for wearless fragrances, it could be a number of things. One of those things being that you are not following the recommended fragrances from this channel. Today I'm going to share with you 5 fragrances that are absolute stunners for the fall. These are strong, long-lasting, and over time have proven themselves to be great fragrances. Now throughout this video, I'm going to share with you guys note breakdowns from the website Fragrantica. It's a great resource, I totally understand it, but we can't rely on the scent breakdown to understand a fragrance. In addition to sharing with you guys the note breakdown on each one of these fragrances, I'm going to share with you guys the experience that I've had with these fragrances. Some good experiences and some bad experiences, but I'm going to share with you guys my total experience with these fragrances. So one of the main notes in all the fragrances here that I want to share with you is going to be vanilla. The vanilla note is a very prominent note in a lot of winter or fall, colder weather kind of fragrances. That note can be very different going from fragrance to fragrance. In addition to the vanilla note, some of these fragrances here have a note of tobacco, which in some of these fragrances, the note of tobacco is used very differently. Some smell more of like a synthetic sweetness that's there with both the tobacco and the vanilla. If at any point these fragrances interest you, be sure to check down in the description of this video and they will be linked there. So starting this list off, we'll get into number 5. So here we have Zar Signature Tobacco. Now outside of the fragrance itself, the bottle design is fantastic. One of the absolute best things about these fragrances on top of the scent is going to be just how much care and detail goes into the design of these bottles. In addition to the scent being a robust tobacco fragrance, Zerof has not only made a nod towards the tobacco leaf itself, but even the wrapper of these cigars. Now this is not going to be a fragrance that is robust in the sense of smoke. Wearing this does not remind me of puffing on a cigar. This reminds me of going into like a cigar shop where every cigar that's there is high quality. Imagine a scenario where you're going into a nice cigar shop. You're sitting down, they pour you a glass of either cognac or rum. The rum or cognac might even have a stick of vanilla in it, providing a sweet, high quality aroma. So my experience with Zar Signature Tobacco, I've worn this at formal and informal events, from being just having a day off to going to a wedding. This is an incredibly versatile tobacco sweet fragrance. My most fond memories with tobacco though are going to be in the really cold months. Not so much because it projects so heavily, because at the end of the day, you're wearing a scent for yourself. This just happens to be one that people around you will enjoy too. You take sweet tobacco and combine it with masculine notes, you get tobacco. Without a doubt, will be one of the fragrances that I wear the most this fall and winter. But yeah, I wore this to a wedding, but not only did I wear it, and it was a good friend of mine's wedding. So not only did I wear this, literally all the groomsmen wore it too. This was like the scent of the wedding, I guess. Kind of cool. And at the time, the weather was a bit cooler, and this lasted for the entire event. There were some wearings where I could wear this and it would last all day long. But it does wear somewhat light, so it's not going to be like in your face, like annoying or anything like that. With that said, still limit your sprays, but an absolute gem of a fragrance here. At number 4, we have a designer fragrance. Next here is going to be Dolce & Gabbana The One Eau de Parfum. Now with this, you're going to have a nice citrus tobacco blend, being carried by a warm and spicy amber, with notes of grapefruit, coriander, and basil, mid notes of cardamom, ginger, and orange blossom, with base notes of amber tobacco. That's worn in this scenario where you're going out for drinks or maybe dinner, and you want a cooler weather, fresh tobacco fragrance, with the cardamom, ginger, and grapefruit blending perfectly. Now into the dry down is going to be heavy in the cardamom, cedar, and tobacco. And at that point in the wearing, it's still rich in the fresh and tobacco, with having cedar being what is most pronounced in the dry down. Now, Dolce & Gabbana The One Eau de Parfum is significantly better than the Eau de Toilette, where the original has its place and people love that fragrance too. I definitely believe this is a significantly better fragrance for the fall. These citruses that combine with tobacco that make for an incredible night out fragrance. Now, the tobacco can come across a bit synthetic, but even with that, it's still a fantastic fragrance. This can be a fragrance that I'll wear out to dinner. Dolce & Gabbana The One projects just enough. Even into the dry down, there's still a very pleasant scent bubble. Now with the One Eau de Parfum, it is one that I have sprayed heavy. Like with all of these, just be careful spraying them onto your clothes because they can stain. With that said, this is going to be a fragrance that I'm going to wear primarily whenever it's not super cold out and I kind of want something kind of fresh, but also want something that has a bit more oomph to it. Now next here is going to be one of the absolute best fragrances in my collection. Next is for those of you that love honey tobacco, but want a fragrance that where the tobacco is carried by a honey note. Now the tobacco and honey in this does not remind me of a cigar shop. This is for you if you're looking for a fragrance that is carried by lavender, honey, tobacco, and cinnamon, with a bit of tonka and vanilla also carrying the fragrance. And if you're a fan of presentations when it comes to fragrances, Zerof does not lack on that. Zerof Naxos is a fantastic fragrance. Every single time that I've gone out wearing this fragrance, someone always says it smells nice. While this is strong with the tobacco and the honey, there are some supporting nuances like florals and lavender that really push this fragrance into something, with a super nice, somewhat gourmand light dry down. Now it's not a gourmand, but that dry down is just so nice. This is another one that I've worn to a friend's wedding. That was an indoor event, so we sprayed this one a bit lighter. If you're gonna be indoors with pretty much any of these, I would just recommend kind of wearing it lightly. Outside of these, that's one reason why I prefer wearing fresher fragrances during even the cooler weather. Mostly because they don't have dense notes like tobacco or vanilla. Next here is going to be the most dense fragrance on this list. This here is going to be Parfums de Marly Layton. A fantastic, warm, spicy, vanilla, with florals and a good bit of citruses. This is a fragrance that I reach for when I want something that is a bit spicy and vanilla heavy. With top notes of apple, lavender, bergamot, and mandarin orange, mid notes of geranium, violet, and jasmine, base notes of vanilla, cardamom, sandalwood, pepper, gaiac wood, and patchouli. This is an incredibly robust fragrance and one of the absolute best coming from Parfum Marley. Definitely a fragrance that I have not smelled a one-to-one dupe of. Layton was also the very first fragrance from Parfum Marley that I ever tried. I remember smelling this in the store and knowing I had to have it. Which, if you're watching this video and you just came from a store and smelled Layton and you're contemplating buying the fragrance, do it. If you can afford it, do it. It's good, especially if you're wanting to expand your fragrance collection. It's warm, it's rich, it's sweet, it's vanilla, but most of all, it is long lasting. I remember I wore it on my hand the first time I wore it, and for the next day, I kept definitely is a fragrance that I recommend you trying. And if not buying the whole bottle, at least getting a sample. Now, last here is the king. Next one we have here is going to be Creed's Aventus, a timeless classic. It is fruity, it is smoky, it is leathery, and also packs its fair share of vanilla. While this is still the most sold niche fragrance of all time, it still holds a top spot in most people's collections. With top notes of bergamot, blackcurrant, apple, lemon, and pink pepper, the mid notes are described as pineapple, patchouli, and Moroccan jasmine, with base notes of birch, musk, oak moss, ambroxan, and cedarwood. Now, one thing about Aventus is going to be the batch variations. Now, as you see here, I'm running a bit low on mine, so if I choose to reorder this, I'm going to need to do my research on which batch I want to get. Creed's Aventus is a fragrance that you just can't go wrong with. If you're collecting fragrances, if you're getting into the world of niche, at some point, you're going to want this fragrance. You can smell all the dupes that there are, and you can own all those dupes, but they are not Creed Aventus. No matter what reviewer says on here that it's one-to-one, it's exactly the same. When you grab this bottle and spray it on, it's a different feeling from when you apply it to when you're wearing it. Now, the pineapple smoky goodness is not going to be something that's going to last you all day long, but it will create a fantastic aura around you. And it's something as fragrance collectors I just recommend, at least sampling it. Now, which of these 5 have you tried? And from what I've said, do you agree or disagree on these fragrances? Either way, thank you and enjoy your fragrances. This makes 600 videos on this channel. If you watched this far in this video, thank you. I just want to say thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.